Two worlds meet here, land and sea. And the creatures that live where those worlds overlap.
That burrow, right there, that has been occupied for 3 years. I know because I've been watching it for 3 years.
My name is Dr. James Okafor. I work across two fields the Henne, marine invertebrate behavior and terrestrial social insect.
Inside that burrow is a peacock mantis shrimp, Odontodactylus ciliaris. Adult female, I estimate her at 30 centimeters.
I'm going to show you Goliath. I've done this 14 times over 3 years. She tolerates the camera at the burrow entrance. She's habituated to my presence.
There she is, Goliath. 30 centimeters of the most sophisticated predatory hardware on Earth. Those raptorial...
The peacock mantis shrimp is not a true shrimp, not a true mantis. It is a stomatopod, an ancient lineage.
Goliath has held this burrow against competitors, predators, and seasonal disruption for 3 years. She feeds on crabs, small fish, mollusks.
But today, something is different. There's a chemical trail here I haven't seen before.
Army ants at the mangrove edge. I have never, in 3 years of monitoring this site.
This is an Essitonine army ant column, Essiton burchelli, the classic swarm raider. The column is thin here, maybe 200 individuals visible.
Colony Kappa. I've been monitoring them for 6 weeks as a terrestrial stealth for 4 days.
500,000 army ants, moving toward the mangrove waterline, moving toward the mud flat, moving flat, toward Goliath's burrow. I need to understand the scale of what I'm saying.
This is a scenario that should not be possible. Army ants do not cross tidal zones. Peacock shrimp gang.
Camera 2 is live. I can see the burrow entrance from the water side and the mud flat approach. If the column reaches the burrow, I will have it from both angles. The setup is complete. Now I wait. And I think about what is about to happen.
But she has never encountered an insect. She has never encountered a mass attack. Her defensive strategy is built for single large opponents.
And the army ants have never crossed a tidal zone. Their foraging behavior is calibrated for forest floor prey, insects.
The quiet before. I've learned to appreciate it, not to rush it. The thing that's coming, it will come in its own time.
Scouts at the 50-meter mark. The main body is approximately 200 meters behind. I estimate 25 minutes to mudflat contact.
I can hear them, the column. That sound, boy, it's unmistakable once you know it.
The column is crossing the mangrove root zone. That is significant. Mangrove roots are rough, complex terrain.
They're on the mud. The scouts are on the mud flat. The salt content here is significant new.
The main column is onto the mud flat. I can see the raid front forming. This is not exploratory behavior. This is...
I want to be clear about what the army ants are doing. They are not targeting Goliath. They cannot know she is here. They are raiding the mudflat as an extent.
First water contact, some recoil, but the column pressure behind them is enormous. The back pressure of 500 tons. They're forming a chain into the water. Probing. The same bridge mechanism used in flood survival.
The army ant colony is actively testing the tidal water. This is not documented behavior in a marine tidal context.
Chain retracted. 3 to 4 ants lost to saltwater incapacitation. But the data came back. The colony now knows direct water crossing is...
The decision wave is traveling back through the column. You can see it, that ripple of movement from front to back.
The question is, what decision? They can't cross the open water. They can't ford the tidal channel.
They're sweeping the waterline. Laterally. They found the only viable path along the land-water interface.
The column is 10 meters from the burrow entrance. The lateral sweep is accelerating, and the front ants have detected something.
Goliath has responded. The burrow camera shows a partial raptorial deployment. The question is, does she...
Scouts at the burrow entrance. They are detecting Goliath's chemical profile turrets. The chemical signature of a large marine crustacean is...
The scouts are at the rim. The main column is 500 meters of ants behind them. What happens in the next 60 seconds will determine whether this is a... Full extension! Full extension is armed.
Strike! The scout is down. Ejected from the burrow at what I estimate is 20 meters per second. It won't recover from that.
Alarm signal from the retreating scout. The column is reading it as prey resistance, a target that fights back. That doesn't deter army ants. It focuses them.
This is the moment. The army ant column's response to a prey item that fights back is to increase pressure. More workers.
Smart. They're consolidating before committing the next probe wave. The colony is gathering data before it sends more individuals in.
Goliath has moved to the entrance. She is physically blocking the burrow with her body, and her armored carapace is now the wall between the columns.
Her carapace is extraordinarily tough, scaled for combat with other mantis shrimp. The pressure from a single ant, negligible. But
30 workers inside the burrow. They're finding the joint gaps. The soft connective tissue between carapace segments is their target. They have found it within 15 seconds.
She struck inside the burrow. The cavitation shockwave in the tube. It's like a grenade in my layer.
8 to 10 ants eliminated by the shockwave, and 20 more are already entering to replace them. The column's replacement rate is faster than Goliath can fire.
Goliath strike, maximum sustainable, 1 strike every 3 seconds. Each strike in a confined space is highly effective, but limited to the entrance.
Siege is established. Goliath is holding the entrance. The column is cycling pressure. This is now a test of endurance versus numbers.
From up here, I can see the full picture. The colony has covered approximately 4 square meters of mudflat around the burrow.
The army ant colony has essentially surrounded a tidal burrow. This has no precedent in the literature. I'm recording everything, but I want to be honest, I don't...
She's braced. She's locked her body against the back wall so she has a firm platform for her strikes. She's optimizing her firing position.
A mantis shrimp braces against a hard surface for maximum strike force. It's documented behavior in rock crack defense.
Larger clearance zone. The braced position improved her strike force significantly. She bought herself 4 seconds of clear entrance. That's a meaningful improvement.
Recording, brace strike clearance radius approximately 5 centimeters. Entrance recovery time 3.8 seconds. Strike interval Goliath is maintaining every 4 to 5 seconds. She is holding Aurelis, barely.
A flanking probe. Ants moving away from the main entrance to probe the burrow perimeter.
if the column can break through the soil above the midpoint of the tunnel, they bypass Goliath's entrance defense completely. This changes everything.
The army ant colony is attempting to breach the burrow from above. The strategy is textbook siege warfare. Fix the defender at the main entrance. Find the...
They've found the breach point. Excavation has begun. Based on the soil depth here, I estimate 12 to 15 minutes before they break through. Goliath can feel the excavation. Her vibration sensory system, extremely sensitive, is picking up the mandible.
The Mantis shrimp is now defending two fronts simultaneously. The main entrance under direct assault and an overhead breach in progress.
She turned. She's facing the ceiling. She's going to be ready to strike when the breakthrough comes from above.
The entrance. While she turned foe, they surged. 20 ants inside the burrow behind her. She's rotated away from the entrance. They're behind her now.
Reverse strike. 3 cleared. 17 ants are on her tail segment. She is being from behind.
This is the critical juncture. 3 simultaneous threats. She cannot address all 3. Whatever she defends while the other 2 advancing.
She was advancing, using her body mass to crush the ants behind her against the walls. 2 forward strikes clearing the entrance. 7 ants remain inside. But she's now at the entrance, the full column is right there. She can strike out of the entrance now, but she's exposed to the maximum density.
The cavitation bubble in air, a different sound, more explosive, 10-centimeter scatter radius outside the burrow. She just struck into the open column.
The peacock mantis shrimp just fired into a colony of 500,000 army ants at point-blank range into the densest part of the raid front. The scatter radius, 10 centimeters.
2 seconds. The gap refills in 2 seconds. She can fire every 4 to 5 seconds. She eliminates a zone of ants. 2 seconds later, the zone is full again. The math is still against her.
The column is adapting. The ants are no longer approaching directly. They're fanning laterally, trying to approach from angles where
The army ant column is developing a tactically appropriate response to Goliath's strike geometry. The raptorial appendages have a limited arc of maximum effect.
The overhead excavation is at 8 centimeters depth. 7 minutes to break through. Goliath is holding the entrance, but the overhead assault...
She's pulled back 4 centimeters. She's accepting some entrance exposure in exchange for coverage of the ceiling breach zone.
she fired forward on rotation, clearing the entrance, then covered the ceiling. She's managing 2 threats sequentially, not simultaneously, rotating defense.
Rotating defense is viable if the rotation speed is greater than the enemy's re-engagement speed. Goliath can rotate in approximately 1 second inside her burrow.
The tide is turning. The water is rising. The low tide window that made the burrow entrance. Based on the tidal schedule, the burrow entrance will be below water in approximately 25 to 30 minutes.
3 possible outcomes. 1, Goliath is overwhelmed before the tide arrives. The colony floods the burrow and she is unable to defend. 2,
She has oriented to the ceiling. She is waiting for the breakthrough. The entrance. She's surrendering the entrance. She's chosen to fight the ceiling breach.
50 ants inside the burrow behind her. They're attacking from behind again while she faces the ceiling. She is surrounded.
This is the point in the observation where everything matters. Every second. The tide level, the excavation depth, the ant density inside the burrow.
Breakthrough. Burrow ceiling breached. Ants entering from above.
She struck up through the breach. The appendage partially exited the burrow. The shockwave above ground scattered ants in a 15-centimeter radius above the hole.
I saw the appendage from above, through the breach hole. She fired up through the ceiling and I saw it from outside. I have never...
she fired up through the breach hole, into open air, into the column above her. The upward strike redirected dozens of ants.
They're through to her mid-body, the pleon segments. The joints there are softer. Real damage is possible. She felt
the tide. The water is at the burrow entrance, seeping in. The column at the entrance, they're hitting salt water now.
The water is clearing the entrance. The ants inside the entrance tunnel are being incapacitated by saltwater immersion. They're retreating.
The tide is winning. The column is retreating from the waterline. The salt water is their terminal barrier.
the ceiling breach ants. They're still inside. Above the waterline, Burrow. The tide won't reach them through the ceiling.
60 to 80 ants are inside the burrow with Goliath. The main column has retreated from the entrance due to the tide. The ceiling breach ants can't exit through the entrance, it's underwater.
The burrow is filling with water from the entrance. The ants inside are moving toward the ceiling breach.
The tide changed everything. The 500,000 ants that were sieging a mantis shrimp burrow, they've retreated.
Sixteen ants in a shrinking air pocket above a mantis shrimp in her own flooded burrow.
From above, it looks like the column retreated, overwhelmed by the tide. But below the surface, the final act.
The air pocket above the water inside the burrow is approximately 5 centimeters deep now.
They're attempting to exit. She's covering the ceiling hole from below. Each ant that reaches the exit hole tronners, she's targeting them at the rim.
She is gatekeeping the exit hole from below. In rising water, the ants that entered her burrow through the ceiling hole, they are
3 out, disoriented, separated from the column. They'll find the retreating pheromone trail and rejoin if the tide doesn't take them first.
5 simultaneous at the exit hole. She can only strike one direction at a time.
1 strike, 3 caught in the shockwave, 2 escaped. She's learning the optimal angle for maximum coverage of the exit hole. She's adjusting her position after each strike.
She is learning, actively adapting her firing angle after each attempt to maximize the shockwave coverage of the exit hole. This is problem-solving behavior.
The air pocket is gone. 40 ants are fully submerged in salt water inside the burrow. Saltwater incapacitation will begin immediately.
She doesn't need to strike anymore. The water is doing it. Saltwater incapacitation, for insects, it's rapid.
In the endosyphysid, the tide was Goliath's ally. She didn't win this through striking power alone.
She's feeding. The ants that besieged her burrow for the past 40 minutes. They are now her meal. The tide covered everything. The mudflat is gone. The siege is over. The column retreated. And below the water.
I've been doing field biology for 20 years. I have never, not once, witnessed an encounter between two species that...
The camera rigs captured everything. 43 minutes of continuous footage from 3 angles, including the burrow interior for 38 of those minutes.
Primary observation summary.
Colony Kappa, 500,000 individuals, reached the mangrove tidal zone, crossed the mudflat, and
Outcome: Colony Kappa retreated due to rising tide. Approximately 80 to 100 individual ants were isolated inside.
The siege failed. But the margin was thin enough that a slightly different timing would have changed the outcome completely.
Timing. In ecological encounters, timing is everything.
I want to talk about what Colony Kappa did right, because it would be easy to say they failed and move on, but they didn't fail from lack of sophistication.
The army ant colony did everything that a tactically sophisticated army would do. Scout.
Which brings me to the most interesting question this encounter generates. Will Colony Kappa approach this zone again, at low tide, in 3 days?
Will they be back? I think yes. Army ants return to productive foraging zones repeatedly. And
I'm following the retreat trail. The colony left a clear pheromone path from the mudflat back through the mangrove forest. This trail...
The trail is here. Chemical pheromone deposits on the root surfaces. This is the roadmap they laid and the route they'll follow back.
Which means I need to set up a monitoring station here. Permanent camera, tidal cycle timer, colony tracking expansion. Because this in
base camp. I set it up 3 days ago when Colony Kappa's trajectory first suggested a possible tidal zone push. I wasn't certain enough to say what I expected.
Watching the replay now, there are things I didn't catch in real time. At 14 minutes into the siege, the main entrance attack pauses for approximately 6 seconds. I didn't notice it. And here one, the excavation team. Look at the relay system. Ants excavating at the front, passing soil backward through a chain of carriers.
The ceiling breach took 13 minutes from the start of excavation. 13 minutes for 60 ants to 13 minutes. A construction feat accomplished by organisms with no individual intelligence sufficient to plan it. The breach point selection chain optimal. The relay
Evening, the tide will begin dropping in 2 hours. By midnight, the mudflat will be partially exposed again. By dawn, the burrow entrance will be in air again.
Day 2. Colony Kappa returning. Estimated arrival at mudflat, 40 minutes. Tide is low, burrow entrance exposed. All cameras operational. Engaging continuous record.
Day 2. The colony is coming back. I don't know if they'll do anything differently. The pheromone trail from yesterday will guide them to the same approach corridor.
They're faster. Following the trail, no terrain uncertainty. They know this ground. The scouts covered this route yesterday. The trail is still active. They're moving at full raid speed.
Faster deployment on the mudflat. They're rolling for substrate as the way they did yesterday. The trail chemistry on mudflat.
No water probe. They went straight to lateral sweep. They skipped the failed step from yesterday. The water probe attempt, the chain into the tidal water.
They skipped the failed step, the behavioral sequence of yesterday's approach. Probe water, fail, lateral sweep, find burrow, burrow journey, has been encoded.
Burrow contact in 4 minutes from mudflat. Yesterday, 11 minutes from waterline to burrow. Today, 4.
They went straight to the perimeter probe. They're not testing the entrance first. They're looking for the overhead breach point immediately. They're starting with a strategy that nearly worked yesterday.
The ceiling breach nearly worked yesterday. It's the approach that got ants inside the burrow. And today, it's the first strategy deployed, not the third.
Goliath is already armed. She felt them coming earlier today and aid. The faster approach created vibrations at a greater distance.
Larger excavation team today. The colony allocated more resources to the ceiling breach. Based on pheromone data from yesterday's attempt, Spoon, the colony knows the
larger team. I estimate the breakthrough time drops from 13 minutes to 8 to 9 minutes, 2 minutes faster. And today, Goliath is defending a...
She's already rotated. The ceiling concern of Pinson has gone for minute 1 today.
Both sides learned overnight. The colony optimized its approach sequence and allocated more resources to the ceiling breach.
They're using the lateral approach geometry they developed at the end of yesterday's encounter, coming from the sides of the entrance, not directly head-on.
They're hitting the entrance from the sides. Goliath's optimal strike position covers the center corridor most effectively. The lateral approach puts ants in her weakest coverage zone. And
6 minutes in, the excavation is approximately at 10 centimeters. Yesterday at 6 nanometers, they were at 7 centimeters, producing measurably faster.
So where? The tide is lower today. At the same clock time, the tide is 40 minutes further from the Burrow waterline submersion point.
The tidal window is 40 minutes wider today. Yesterday, the tide gave Goliath her margin. Today, the tide may not arrive in time.
Goliath is firing at a higher rate today. She's increasing her output in response to the increased pressure. But higher rate means higher energy cost.
Energy economy. This is the variable that could tip today's encounter differently from yesterday's. Yesterday, the siege lasted 43 minutes and the tide ended it.
Breakthrough at 8 minutes, 5 minutes faster than yesterday. The overhead assault is inside the burrow.
Upward strike scatter radius, 12 centimeters. Yesterday it was 15. Marginally reduced.
She's still holding, but the margin is narrowing on 2 axes yet. The tide is further away, and her strike performance is declining slightly from fatigue.
More ants reached her pleon today before she sealed the entrance. The sustained attack on her pleon segments is significant, and I can see her body respond to new behavior. She's crushing them against the wall using body mass, a slow force technique, less energetically demanding than raptorial strikes.
She adapted her energy allocation. High-cost strikes for the ceiling breach and entrance where precision and speed matter.
12 minutes in. Tide is still not approaching the burrow entrance. Yesterday at 12 minutes, the tide was 3 minutes away from burrow entrance contact.
6 to 8 minutes of extra holding time. Against a faster ceiling breach, more ants inside, and more sophisticated frontal approach.
The ceiling breach is wider today, more ants per second through the hole. She's defending 2 directions simultaneously, no rotation buffer. This is the maximum stress scenario.
3 rapid upward strikes tag. Maximum rate. The crushing technique interrupted. The pleon ants pressed in. She counts.
She is at her limit. I believe she is at or near her maximum sustainable defensive output. The Army ant column strength.
The tide. It's rising faster than I calculated. The current must have shifted, and I'm reading a faster inflow rate than yesterday.
The tide is moving faster. Not on the table. Real-time conditions are different from the table's average.
She's accepted the pleon attacks. She's absorbing them, focusing everything on the ceiling breach. She's trading pain in her rear.
She absorbed the attacks. She decided the ceiling breach is the primary threat. The pleon attacks are painful but not immediately fatal.
Sustained ceiling defense. 1 strike every 3.5 seconds. The ceiling entry rate is reduced by approximately 60%. She's holding the primary breach.
Water at the entrance.
The entrance is clearing. The tide is taking the entrance assault. Exactly as yesterday, the frontal attack is ending. The retreat signal is reaching the excavation team above. They're pulling back from the breach hole. The overhead assault is ending.
The column retreats, organized, efficient, using their established retreat trail. They're not routed, they're withdrawing.
Goliath holds again. Day 2. The tide came faster today than the table predicted. That extra current saved her. She was 5 minutes from her defensive limit.
The tide rises, the column retreats, the burrow submerges, and below the water, Goliath dealing with the ceiling breach ants in her flooded burrow.
Goliath's response: earlier ceiling monitoring, energy allocation adaptation, crushing technique development. Outcome same as day 1, right? Tidal rescue. Margin approximately 5 minutes. Decreasing.
The margin is decreasing. Day 1 area, Goliath had a 15-minute tide buffer. Day 2, a 5 minutes. If Colony Kappa returns on day... Unless Goliath adapts faster than the colony can optimize. She showed real-time adaptation today.
This is the oldest question in evolutionary biology, playing out in an estuary in real time. Which scales better?
I'm setting everything to continuous record tonight. If Colony Kappa makes a 3rd-day approach Beltane, I want to be awake before they arrive.
This is day 3. The colony is optimized across 2 encounters. Goliath has adapted across 2 encounters. The tidal window is at its longest.
3 minutes to waterline deployment. No hesitation. No exploratory behavior. They know this ground completely.
All fronts engaged from second 1. No sequence. Simultaneous. The colony has abandoned the sequential approach and is deploying all
Simultaneous parallel assault from the start. Yesterday they went to ceiling breach first, frontal second. Today Weathy, both from the opening second.
She went straight to her day 2 end state. She started at yesterday's optimized position. She's not repeating the learning curve, Turo. She remembered the end point.
Breakthrough at 6 minutes. 2 minutes faster than yesterday. They increased the excavation team again.
The water is far. Spring tide, very far. Estimated time to burrow entrance submersion.
She is using everything, every adaptation from the previous 2 days deployed simultaneously.
Sealing fire.
15 minutes. She's holding at 15 minutes. The tide is 13 minutes away. She needs to hold 13 more minutes. At maximum output, against maximum colony pressure.
13 minutes. She's been at maximum output for 15 minutes. I don't know if she has another 13, but she's still firing, still blocking.
He's coming. 8 minutes. She needs 8 more minutes. The colony is feeling the first water fingers at the waterline.
She's maintaining 3.5 second strike intervals. 17 minutes siege at 0.5 second intervals. I am counting.
The water is at the entrance. The column is retreating. Day 3, Goliath holds. 3 days, 3 sieges.
3 days, 3 encounters, 2 extraordinary organisms, 1 marine,